when it is posted. The purpose of this webinar is just to acquaint you with LAMUM 9.0 release, which has been out about a month now, and we've probably had 40 or 50 upgrades, and so far so good. No problems, no bugs have been reported. So first, welcome everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at. So let's just start by talking about what you need to do to upgrade to 9.0. First of all, you have to be at 8.x to upgrade to 9.0. If you're older than 8.0, please contact us and we'll help you get upgraded to 8.0, and then you can upgrade to 9.0. So there's a little bit of a requirement there. If you are using Linux, you must be at Red Hat 7 or CentOS 7 or above. And you will need a new license key for 9.0. Slightly different architecture, so you do need that. Make sure when you upgrade to 9.0 that you contact us. You can contact support@teameda.com or call us at 603-656-5200, and we'll get you a new key for 9.0. So keep that in mind. Some highlights. What's in 9.0? First of all, we've done some changes to the gas gauge display, and I'm actually going to demonstrate this stuff live, but I do have some slides that show that each of these in a minute. You'll see those. We've done some changes in the concurrency graphs. We've added accumulated displays, and we've added variable time periods for concurrency graphs. For combined features, we've added a user detail table and selectable tags. So if you know what combined features are, that's the same tool, same feature running on multiple license servers. So you can now see that report in a table form, but you can also see that report by selecting specific tags. So each of those licenses are going to be at a different tag, and so you can select whatever tag you want. By the way, if you have a question or so, feel free to jump in if you want, but there'll be a question and answer session at the end. You can now see Denial's Heatmap. Denial's Heatmap was available in 8.1, but now you can see it by tag. So you can just select the tag that you want to see the heat map on. Groups can now be created not only by interactively choosing members of the group, but you can also use the Excel spreadsheet to import the group. But you can also create a group from Active Directory directly. There are 3 different fields: organization, department, and office, I believe they are. And then you can create a group automatically from Active Directory. And then you, of course, see usage by group. We've also added chargeback % in the group reports, so that if you are using group usage or even user usage, individual engineer usage, and you want to do chargebacks, in the report now, it has the % of use of total for that time period. We've added database truncation and archiving and auto database reduction. These 2 things have been added to help you kind of manage the size of your database. At some point, when you get above 5 gigabytes, the database size could affect performance. A lot of it depends on your VM configuration, how much CPU, memory, so forth and so on. But when you get up larger database sizes, it could affect performance. So there's a couple of issues here, not issues, but functions that have been added to help control that or manage the size of the database. And then lastly, we've upgraded a lot of the components, and I'll talk specifically about what components got upgraded into what. So let's look first at the gas gauges. What's new about the gas gauges is that we've changed the actual and the capacity so that it's a little easier to read. The number in the center here is the actual number of checkouts, and the number at the right side of the arc is your capacity. And the color coding is still the same. So 3 of 6 is 50%, 10 of 10 is 100%, and so forth. And I just added this little comment here because you may or may not be aware. First, you might not even know that we have gas gauges. So you can see your current checkouts now in a gas gauge style, which is kind of cool. And this upgrades every 10 minutes or so, whatever you have your cron interval set at. It's going to update these real time. So if you keep this page open, you know, it'll always show you the current checkout status of any of these licenses. And so you can show all of your features or tools this way, or you can be selective. If you only want to see your MATLABs, you can go back to your overview, current overview, and select just the MATLAB stuff, and then only the MATLAB stuff will show up. And then, of course, if you're doing that in the 8182, you can save that as a favorite, and then you can click on it either as a favorite or as a hyperlink in your dashboard, and see the current status of MATLAB anytime you want, real time. So you can be selective on which features you show as gas gauges. We've also done some work on the concurrency graphs, and one is to add accumulated displays. So it's basically looks more like a histogram instead of the actual percentages here at each level of concurrent checkout. This is sort of an accumulated view of concurrent checkouts, and it gives you more of a histogram kind of appearance. And this is another did you know thing, but when you're looking at your concurrency graphs, best practices suggest you can get rid of up to 5% on this high end here. So I don't know how you're currently using your concurrency graphs, but just keep in mind that there's an opportunity to save up to 5%. What do these percentages mean? This is kind of like, what's the percent? If you own 15 licenses, there's a 0.4% chance of a denial, and that's kind of expensive. So we think about 5% at the high end is acceptable, but it's up to you to make that determination yourself. So anyway, you can look at these histographs, you can look at these accumulated graphs and chop off up to 5% if you really want to save some money. Generally speaking, 5% probability of denial is okay. That's kind of what that means. The other thing we've added is, well, we've always had this concurrency Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, but you can also see that in accumulated fashion, again, histogram fashion. And we've added the concurrency by time period. So you can use this custom time period here to select the start day, the end day, and then the time periods that you want, and get your concurrent use for that custom time period. And that too can be accumulated. This is kind of what we're showing here. Whoop, I don't know what that is. So there's quite a bit of new stuff in the concurrency graph area. Combined features, we now have the ability to show combined features. So again, a combined feature report shows all. Somebody, please, yeah, please mute yourself. Thank you. Combined feature is the ability to show the same tool in multiple license servers. And if you have that now, you can see that we always had that as a combined feature graph, but now we've added a combined feature table. So in this one table, you can see where we have MATLAB on multiple different license servers, you know, based on the tag name here, all in the same tag. And you can also filter the table using our normal general filter box, or you can toggle column filters and filter the table on any of these. So now you can see that tool on multiple license servers in a table form with all the individual users plotted out as well. We still have the combined feature graph, but now you can show it by selected tags. So in this instance here, you might have 4 or 5 different servers that have this tool, in this case MATLAB, running on 4 or 5 different license servers, and you can select the specific license servers that you want to show concurrently in this combined feature graph. So it's selectable tags are available. So if you don't have the need, same tool on multiple license servers, then it probably isn't going to make that much difference. But if you do, you're going to like this new feature.
Is that still limited by the amount of features that you can select?
Well, this is only going to show you the features that are running on different license servers. So in this case, we have MATLAB running on 4 different license servers. You might be thinking of the multiple feature graph. That's a different graph. Okay, that's the same ported host, and you have multiple features, and you want to plot different combinations of features together on the same graph. That's called the multiple feature graph. The combined feature graph is just the same tool, in this case MATLAB, running on multiple license servers. We've always had this graph available, but it showed every tag. You didn't have any choice. Now you can be selectable what tags you want to show, plotted together, of course. And we've always had, we started having denial heat maps in 8.0, but now you can show it by tag. Denial heat maps by tag. Groups from Active Directory kind of looks like this. Under the Groups tab, there's a new thing called Groups from AD, and it brings up, drop downs for organization, office, and departments. So it actually does a query out on your Active Directory table system, and it will generate a list of all the organizations, all the offices, all the departments. And so you can use these drop downs to select different combinations of those 3 to create a group. So once you do that, you have to give the group a new name here, and all of a sudden, boom, you've got a new group created, and you can see usage by that group, that combination. The one question that you're probably asking, does that stay current? And the answer is no. We create it, and it stays in our database as it is. You may have to go in periodically and recreate that group if you want, if you think people are moving around a lot. But at this point, it doesn't auto-synchronize with your Active Directory. And
hey Guy, this is Chris from Veoneer.
Yep.
I played around with this feature, and it looks like the drop down, either in organization, office, or department, it seems like it only limits currently to 4 options. So I had to go in, thankfully, with the help of Alfred, and I basically made the OU information inside the Active Directory be more specific so I could get all the offices or the office codes I needed. But if you try to use the whole blanket, it only limits it to 4, just an FYI.
Really? I have not heard that. I wrote it down. I have my notepad right here. So I just wrote it down. If there's an issue, we'll get a fix out there. My understanding was it will list, any number of organizations or offices or departments. So it's the first I've heard that. Okay, thank you.
Well, yep.
So in the chargeback area, now for user details, this is a user detail report. We've added a new column that says chargeback percent. So this is, for this time period, the percentage of usage by each of these particular engineers. And this, of course, can be exported to Excel, where you can apply these percentages against the cost factor and then charge back based on that. And we do the same thing for groups. So now we have all these groups, how much they used it for this time period, and the percentage of total. And then you can export that to Excel and do chargebacks using these percentages. In the area of database reduction, so we have 2 things. We've got the database truncation archiving capability, and we have the database reduction process, which I'll cover that in a minute. But in the area of truncation, under admin, there's active archive. That says archive, sorry. Archive date and location. And what you do here is you select a date. So this is a manual process. You can do it anytime you want. Let's say that you really want to get rid of anything older than 2 years. So you come in here and put a date in 2 years back, and then you put a look where you want it backed up to and that gets archived. Just set create archive, and that'll get backed up to this location, and then you can restore that archive here if you want to. There'll be a drop down of the locations here in the options, so you can bring it back if you really need to. But again, if you can cut out, 2 or 3 years worth of data, you could shrink your database maybe in half, or it depends on if you got 4 years worth of data and you take out 2 years, you just shrunk your database by 50%. But the caveat here is that the first time you do this, you need to do it with the assistance of TeamEDA. We need to turn on a couple of things in the database to make this, to enable this. And then once that's done, you can do it anytime you want. So it's just the first time. If you want to use the Archive Manager, contact TeamEDA support. And again, it's support@teameda.com. And we'll hook up with you and set it up so that you can use this function. Now, it depends on the size of your database. What we think is that when databases get to be about 5 gigs or larger, it could start to affect performance in bringing up your different pages, performance in generating reports. And again, that's also a function of your resources, your VM, CPU, memory, and other things. So you might be able to go 10 gig. We have customers with 10 gig databases that don't see any degradation in performance at all. We have some that are getting performance degradation at 3 gigs or 4 gigs. So again, 5 gigs is sort of a average size database. Now, how do you know how big your database is? You go to your backup folder and look at the most recent backup. And as you should know, that in our system, it backs up automatically. The default is every 7 days, it'll back it up to a folder, called LAMUM/backup. So unless you've changed that, that's where your backup files are going to be. So you can go in there and see what the size of your database is. I'll talk more about database size in a minute. The other option besides truncation of old data is the auto database reduction process. And this is essentially a process to remove zeros out of the database. And what we found is that running this procedure, you can reduce the database size by about 70%. So this has nothing to do with truncation. This just goes in and pulls all the zeros out. You still get all the same reports that you've always wanted, but the database just shrinks by like 70% magically. This also requires the first time that you do it, that you hook up with our support people here, and they'll set you up so that this is implemented. And then once this little box here gets ungrayed, it's grayed out if it's never run database reduction before. But as soon as we help you with that first database reduction, you're going to get options here. This is after we've done the database reduction one time. You get the drop down, so you can run manually now. It'll automatically do it every 6 months. It'll automatically do it once a year or every 2 years. So this enables you to set it up so that it automatically reduces the database size, once every 6 months, once a year, once every 2 years. That seems to be adequate. And then when it sets off to do this database reduction process, it'll send you an email to alert you that it's starting the process, and it usually does it in the middle of the night or on a weekend. And then it'll send you a post reduction alert as well. So you'll know when it starts, you'll know when it stops. Because it could take a while. It depends on how quickly your database grows. And what drives database growth? A few things. One is the number of daemons that you're monitoring, how many users are being monitored, the cron interval that you set. A cron interval is basically the LM stat frequency for your Flex licenses, and it's the parsing frequency for your log files. And so data collects based on the frequency of that stuff. And then lastly, the denials. Are you tracking denials? Are you tracking short checkouts? Those are all parsers that also create more data that gets to get saved into the database. So, generally speaking, if you have 10 daemons, 200 engineers, 15-minute cron interval, and let's say you're tracking denials but not the short checkouts, this is probably going to generate about a half a gig per year. So for you to get to 5 gigs, you can do the math. You know, it takes you about 10 years. So a lot of it depends on how many daemons, the number of engineers, the frequency of the cron interval, and whether you're tracking, you know, log files, denials, short checkouts, that kind of thing. So I would urge you, if you don't feel like you have a performance issue right now, there's no really degradation, everything comes up really quick, reports generate in a reasonable amount of time, then you don't need to worry about this. But over time, as your database gets bigger and bigger and bigger, you could see some performance issues. Now, one of the things we do see that Linux seems to perform better than Windows when you start getting into these large databases. But even with Windows, again, if you're down on this level, 10 daemons, 200 engineers, it'd take you 10 years, you know, to probably see any degradation. Just as a heads up. So these new database truncation, database reduction functions are going to be useful to you if you have, you know, many daemons, engineers, and what all you're tracking there. So lastly, we upgraded a number of the components. PHP is now version 7.2. Apache is version 2.4.34. MariaDB is 10.3.8, and the Visual C++ is 2017 now. Those are embedded in the Windows version of our product. In the Linux version, the only thing that you really need to not concerned about, but be aware of, is that we've upgraded the PHP. Linux doesn't have these requirements, these components, I should say. So that's, in terms of bug fixes in 9.0, we fixed a few bugs here. Flex Daemon Manager now only shows Flex LM daemons. In the past, it showed everything, and it was sort of like a lot of reds. And I said, let's just take out everything that's not Flex, because the Daemon Manager is for Flex LM, period. Option file, you can save in Windows now. I don't know if you tried using the option file edit and restore function in Windows, but we had a bug there on the save function. Worked fine in Linux, but not on Windows. We fixed that. And I would encourage you, if you are using option files, I don't know how many, if you even know what an option file is, but option file in FlexLM gives you the ability, you know, to really set permissions and distribution rights and a whole bunch of stuff you can do with the option file. You can edit that option file inside of our tool now, inside of Daemon Manager, and save it and redeploy it. We had a problem with duplicate usernames in some of the older versions of our software, and we fixed that to prevent duplicate names going forward. So going forward, you won't have duplicates. But if you have duplicates now and you want to get rid of them, that has to be done by TeamEDA support. So again, send us an email, support@teameda.com, and if you have duplicate names and you want to get rid of them, we'll take them out of the database, and then once you go to 9.0, they just won't have that problem anymore. In the capacity alert, the capacity number was wrong. I guess we fixed that. We now have secured FTP and FTPS. That's more for downloads, your updates and stuff. That's in there now. LAM renewal expiration alert has been fixed. I guess there was a bug or something in the LAM side. So on the LAM side, the 8181 side, the renewals over there are only for your, I'm sorry, the expiration alerts over there are only for your renewals. And there was, I guess, a bug related to the alert on those. I don't know if you use LAM for tracking your renewals and you want to get an alert on your expiration of your contracts. I mean, that's done in LAM. And then in Sentinel, the RMS, we needed to update the RMS version, which we did. We upgraded that in 9.0. So that's the PowerPoint. This has been recorded, and we'll put it up on our website, and I'll let everybody know. I was going to go live to the product, but any quick questions right now? Okay, if not, I'm going to go over to, so this is 9.0. Let me just blow that up here. And I'm going to show you real time some of these things. So you go to the current overview gas gauge display. So this is what I was showing you in slides. These are all gas gauges, and I don't know if you're aware of it, but you can see the detail, like, oh, I want to see who these 7 people are. So there's the 7 people that have that checked out. You can also, as I mentioned earlier, select only the ones that you want. So if I go back to the overview, you're familiar with this view, and let's say I only want to see my MATLAB stuff. I just check the MATLABs off and do a display. So now this is just the MATLAB. And if I do this in the 8182 port, you're familiar with that. I assume you know how to do this in 8182. That can be saved as a favorite. And you can get directly to the current MATLAB checkouts anytime you want. So let's go look now at the concurrency graphs to show you what's different there. Can you please mute yourself? There's some talking and a little bit distracting. Thank you. So this is the traditional concurrency graph, 24/7 graph. It looks like that. Now we can show it as accumulated. Please mute yourself, or I'll mute you. I guess I can mute everybody from here. Yeah, there you go. So I'll unmute you if you want to talk in a minute. Accumulated graph kind of looks like this now. If I do the Monday through Friday 8 to 5 concurrency graph, that's the accumulated view. So if I take off accumulated and show you what it looks like, that's what it normally looks like. But if I do accumulated, then it looks like the histogram, right? So you have everything sliding down from quantity 1 down to 15 in this case. And then we've got the custom time concurrency graph. So if I wanted to, let's say I only want to see Tuesday through Thursday from 2 in the morning until, because maybe you've skewed your time zones somehow. Now we've changed the time zones to just that. So here's Tuesday through Thursday, 2 a.m. to 11 a.m. So you can do a lot more, with the concurrency graphs now. Custom time period, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and then the 24/7 graph right here. So that's the concurrency, the combined feature. So we have 2 now, right? We have the combined feature table and we have the combined feature graph. So the first thing that our tool does when you click on either of these, it's going to go out and find the features that are running on multiple license servers. So in my demo here, I've got MATLAB running on multiple license servers. So this is the new table report for combined features. So you have the same tool, feature MATLAB, running on 60 different line items, and here's all the tags. I can sort the same as I always did by clicking on the column header, or I can filter. So maybe I only want to see, demo 2. And so now this is all my demo 2 people, users. So this gives you a little more flexibility for tracking tools that run on multiple license servers. And again, it's a table, so you can export it to Excel. You can create a batch report. Very, very simple. That's the combined feature table. And then this is the combined feature graph. And notice these are all the tags that are available. I pick, let's say I only want to see these 2 tags plotted together. And so this is where I've got demo 2 and demo 3 plotted together. So this is, again, it's a combined feature report, but instead of seeing everything, you had no choice. Now you can look at specific tags. So some of you have, 10, 12 servers running the same tool. Now you can be a little more selective about which you can look at together. But the principle is the same. You see MATLAB on demo 2 is red, MATLAB on demo 3 is blue. You can see the capacity of red, capacity of blue, and then the black line up here, this is your total combined capacity for those 2 servers. So it gives you a little more flexibility, and that's under Combined Feature Table, Combined Feature Graphs. The next one is denials, and we have the denials heat map, but now you can be selective. You can see the denials heat map by tag. You can just pick whichever one you want and see the denial, assuming that you're tracking denials on each of these different tags. You can see which one, the heat map for that particular tag. And then groups from Active Directory, that's under groups. So you can create groups interactively, add a group here, and then edit and add people, you know, from the list over here to who belongs in the group. Whoops. They went out to try to find that user. Or you can, I don't know if you're aware of this, whoops, down at the bottom here, batch import. So you can create a group definition using this template right here. There's a template for creating groups. All you do is save that template, browse to it, click import, and it'll bring in all your group definitions. Now we've added groups from AD. So these are, you know, again, this is supposed to come from your Active Directory, and you know, you pick the organization, pick the sales, the office that you want. Let's just say the Manchester office, and I want to see all my developers. And so those three now will create a group. I give it a name, so let's call it MHT developers. Can't spell, and add a group. So now I've just created a new group called MHT developers. Right there. And technically, you know, it pulled in everybody from the Active Directory list, you know, those combinations that I had here. Now, initially, it says it might take a few minutes, depends on your Active Directory connection and the number of users, and it could take initially a few minutes to create the drop-downs for this. But I guess I got to check on that, what Chris had said about the limitation, so we'll figure out what's going on there. But that's technically, this is supposed to show all the departments, all the offices, all the organizations in your Active Directory. So I don't even know if you use groups, but we think that's a significant addition if you are using groups. Now, as far as those percentage chargebacks reports, they're here. So again, let's say that we want to charge back individual usage of this tool over the last 7 days. I can do it for 30 days or 90, but let's say for the last 7 days. So in the last 7 days, these people used it. This is how much. Basically, you've always had this report. What we've added is this column over here, chargeback percent. So you can export this now to Excel if you want, and then use these for charging back against individual engineers. And the same thing applies for groups. So if I go, let's say the same tool by group detail, there's the percentages by group. Again, I can export that to Excel, and that'll make it a lot easier for you to allocate costs back by group or by engineer if you have to. So if you do chargebacks or accounting by engineer or by groups, this is going to perhaps be useful to you. And then lastly, about the truncation stuff. So we have this archive date and location. So again, you have to pick a date, and I want to archive everything older than a certain date. And then you need to have a location. Where do you want the archive stored? That's really all you need to do it. But again, the first time you need to contact us, and we'll turn this on for you. And once you have that in there, the date and the location, then you just create archive, and that'll automatically take off, you know, whatever amount of data is older than that and put it into an archive. If you want to restore the archive, then you come here and pick the archive that you want. Right now we don't have any in my demo, but you pick the archive that you want to restore from the list. There'll be a list, and then just click Restore Archive. Voila. So again, how much it's going to reduce your database, you know, depends on how many years of data you have and what your archive date is. It's just simple math at that point. So that's the archive, or what we call truncation archiving function. The other one is the database reduction function. This is the one that takes the zeros out, and there's again a caveat here. We have to help you the first time. This is grayed out because we haven't turned this function on for you yet. But essentially, once you get it turned on, then there's going to be a drop down here, as I showed you in the list. Somebody just asked a question. I'll get to that question in a minute that came in through the chat window. So once you go through the first time database reduction process, then these will give you a drop down. You want to do the process now? Do you want to do it every 6 months automatically? Do you want to do it once a year automatically, and so forth? You can set that up, and then you put in an email address here for the person that will receive the pre and post alert that the process has started or that it's stopping. Because while that process is running, the crons are not. So you have to do it in the middle of the night or do it on a weekend or sometime. And so we send out the alert to let you know that it started. And it's pretty straightforward other than that. Again, you don't need to worry about it unless your database is getting up there and you're seeing some performance. If you're seeing any performance degradation, then you might want to consider this. Feel free to contact us and consult with us if you think you want to do either the truncate archive, or if you want to do the database reduction. We can advise you on what might be best if you need to do either or both. So can you show? Let me go through some of the chat questions now. I'm going to first thing I'm going to do is unmute everybody. So if you do have questions, I think I can hear you now.
Can you show an example of the 8182 that you were talking about earlier? How to send that to people so they could view it?
Oh my goodness, you don't know how to do that? All right, I'm not sure who that was, but let me show you really quickly. This is one of the most, right now you can see we're in 8181, right? And you can see everything, and you had to log in to get here. But if you want to give somebody, all you do is go to the Home tab, open a new window. That's the shortcut, but if you can remember that right there, it's the same IP, :8182/LAM monitor. That takes you to this view. So this view is the direct access view. So let's just do an example. Let's say I want to show just the MATLAB current checkouts. So I'm just doing an example. Again, I'll do it again for you here. So I just use the overview to check off just the MATLAB stuff. Come down here and say gauge display. And so this URL now will take me to this particular display. All I need to do is save that as a favorite. And I'm going to add it as a favorite. I'm going to call it current MATLAB checkouts. And that's it. It's a favorite now. Now, whoops. Oh, I already have that set up. Okay, good. So what I'm going to do then, I'm going to go back to Home. And let me just show you that favorite, since it says I already have that favorite in here. MATLAB current checkouts is that one right there. So see how it takes you right exactly to the report that you want. You can do that with any 8182 URL. And you get there either by going to the Home tab, say open new window. That takes you to the 8182 LAM monitor. Or if you just type in 8182/LAM monitor. So it's basically this right here up to LAM monitor. It takes you to this page right here. So any other questions about the 8182 port? Now once you're in 8182, you can save that as a batch report. You can save that as a on-demand favorite, or you can put it into a dashboard. That URL can go into a SharePoint document or anything you want, a Word document, a PowerPoint document, and you give it a user-friendly name, of course. And then when you click on that document, that hyperlink, it takes you directly to the report that you want. That's not new. That's always been in our product. But so let's see. Any other questions? Can you show example? Oh, that was we did that.
Are there any updates? Are there any updates for colorblind people? Because I know that one time I was on a call with Alfred, I couldn't tell the difference after running a parsing report.
Well, for the graphs, you can. Let me show you. Change the colors. I'm not sure. Under
specifically when I look at parsing reports, I can't tell the difference if they're good or bad.
The parsing reports, so usually if they're like status reports, red, green lights, they're always something underneath it like okay or unknown or something, so you can see some text below the color. But for graphs, if you want to change the colors, if you go to TeamEDA/support/documentation, right here, setting colors in graphs. I'm not going to open it up, but it's a app note on how to change the colors in the graphs. Let's see, is feature renaming enabled in IE11? I don't know what you mean by that. It's always been enabled.
When I try to do it in IE11, it never works.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the problem with IE. First of all, if you can use Chrome or Firefox, you're going to be a lot happier. But if you're going to use IE, you have to use IE. That's a Windows product, right? And you have to go back to our Windows Server Requirements document, Browser Requirements. That's right up on our, that's where I just came from, is our website. And down at the bottom here, it tells you browser capability. Notice Internet Explorer has an asterisk. So for Internet Explorer, you have to set the LAMUM server as a trusted site. You have to have ActiveX and JavaScript controls enabled. You cannot run in the compatibility mode. And to see images properly, check the boxes. So you have to do these things. And if you do these things in the configuring of IE, you will be able to change the feature names. I know exactly what you're talking about. It won't take the feature name change unless you're in Chrome or Firefox, or if you're in IE, you have to have these settings in there. Try that.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Are there any other questions? Example, when I parse logs. Oh, that's the color thing you were just talking about. Yeah, we just saw that. We talked about that. Brian Bruder wants to be the presenter. Brian, are you there?
If I did it by mistake. I must have fell asleep on my keyboard.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Feel free. Ask anything about 9.0, about the product in general. Okay, if there are no more questions, I'm going to close the webinar, and I'm going to stop recording it and put it up on our website, and I'll let everybody know when it's up there. So you can come back, and everything that I just did is going to be recorded. So again, thank you for attending.
Hey Guy, this is Chris.
Yep.
Hey Guy, quick question. So I saw how you were able to do multiple tags, but can you do it where each tool, and then like you have your chargebacks, but let's see what I was gonna say. Can you just do it by a tool and then do an export? That way, if they needed more details about, like, maybe one manager might complain like, no, his users don't use it, but you have like a list that says, oh, his total usage for that month was like 3,000 hours. Can you have a more detailed export?
Which report are you talking about here? I've got a. You want to go across
for example,
all of them?
Yeah. So, like, for example, if you pick one of your chargebacks for like your first MATLAB, just pick one of them.
Yeah. All right. You want to do it by group, or you want to do it by user?
Yeah. Well, go ahead and do the group table, and this is what I'm asking. So
Okay, so
As you see,
yeah,
you have your chargeback for each group, but
right.
maybe a manager of program 101 says, no, my users didn't use it for 330 hours. So if they needed a more detailed
Oh,
report,
sure. Yeah.
well,
That's easy. So you go under group detail. So you're
mhm.
talking about Site 101. Is that the group that's questioning this?
Well, no, I'm just saying program 101, for example.
Is that one? Oh, this one right here. Okay, so we're going to go to groups. We're going to go to group
Group
details,
details.
and we're going to pick program, whatever that was,
Yeah, but
program
do you have
101.
it do you have it by tool?
Yeah,
Because
you
this will
have to
do it
filter it. You're going to have to
all
filter
the
it.
tools,
Right.
not
It's gonna take
okay.
probably a while to generate. There's probably thousands of lines of data here, but give it a second and it'll populate this table.
So there's no like quick way, like you'd actually have to still do a little legwork to get
Yeah,
to
so
where you needed.
we have 3,902 lines in program one. There's a lot of users
Yeah,
apparently. So all I got to do is toggle.
correct.
What did you want to know? How much they used what?
Just like a certain feature.
Well, there it is. Let's say MATLAB. So this is
Okay,
now what it's filtering the table. This table, program 101, MATLAB usage, and there's 1,965 lines of MATLAB usage
perfect.
in here.
Okay. No, you got what I want then.
Okay. All right. Great. Any other questions?
And then you can export the
Yes.
specific features you wanted,
Yeah.
and then it's only gonna export those 1,965 lines, correct?
I'm not sure. It might export all 3,900, but again, you can just filter it on, MATLAB if that's all you care about. I'm not sure if I did an export right now.
Well,
I don't want to do it, but
yeah,
try it. Try it on your system, and
I'll
yeah,
test it on mine,
yeah.
but that's good information to know for my director if he's got to justify how he bills back.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? If not, I'd like to thank everybody for attending. And again, I'll let you know when this is up on our website. Thanks. Everybody have a great day.